A cell is the basic fundamental unit of all life on Earth. It contains numerous important structures and components that function together, with all the parts interacting with each other. The cytoplasm is the intracellular space within the cell, containing all these structures and components. Cells are often likened to a tiny metropolis. Like any town, a cell needs to create boundaries and to protect itself. Not much inside it is static or stationary, including the cell membrane that surrounds it. All cells have a fluid but defining cell membrane that encircles the cytoplasm like an old city would have a fluid protective moat. In this way, a cell membrane would provide a barrier to separate the cytoplasm and extracellular space. Things are brought in and shipped out, but it would be dangerous to let just anything pass through it without the right credentials. Therefore, we also describe a cell membrane as selectively permeable, or only allowing certain substances to pass through the cell membrane. A cell membrane, however, is made up of a few more sophisticated parts than a moat and is constructed from entirely different materials. This cell membrane is primarily composed of a phospholipid bilayer, cholesterol, proteins, and carbohydrates. Though the parts are different, it's easier to think about how the membrane functions by, again, comparing it to a protective moat. The composition of the cell membrane is best described by the fluid mosaic model, where different parts of this membrane can float in a fluid-like space. Like it sounds, this model suggests that the cell membrane is dynamic or moving and asymmetrically scattered with different pieces, such as phospholipids, cholesterol, proteins, and carbohydrates, and that these different parts of the cell membrane float in this fluid-like space, moving laterally throughout the membrane. Let's start to build what this mosaic looks like around a cell. We'll start with one of the most popular components of the cell membrane, the phospholipids, which form the phospholipid bilayer. As a refresher, this is two layers of phospholipids that give us a membrane with hydrophilic heads oriented towards the outside and inside of the cell where there is an aqueous environment. The fatty acid hydrophobic tails of the phospholipids don't like to get their tails wet, so they face each other, creating a hydrophobic region inside the bilayer. A function of this layer then is to create a distinct hydrophobic region, which is essential in both keeping fluidity and moderating what can pass the selectively permeable membrane and enter our miniature city. In later lessons, we'll talk about who's allowed through and when. Now we can start adding molecules to the phospholipid bilayer that will turn this membrane into a beautiful piece of mosaic art. We'll start with cholesterol, which is found floating throughout the membrane. Remember that not only is there a lot of cholesterol in a double cheeseburger, there's also a good amount in our cells. Here it does a lot more good than clogging our arteries. Like phospholipids, cholesterol is also a hydrophobic molecule too, so where would it want to spend time? Because alike molecules typically hang out together, hydrophobic cholesterol is also located within the hydrophobic region of the cell membrane created by the phospholipid tails. Cholesterol resides within the hydrophobic space and helps maintain membrane fluidity. It both provides structure and keeps the membrane from freezing. In addition, cholesterol helps the membrane act as a protective barrier to unwanted molecules. Cell membrane fluidity refers to the viscosity or resistance to